We have a new injury update around Patrick Williams and his knee. We're going to be talking about how much time he is set to miss. We're also going to be talking about what this means for the Chicago Bulls moving forward and how the Chicago Bulls can pivot off a guard-heavy team in this upcoming NBA draft. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and you have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today we are looking at the most recent injury report around Patrick Williams. Remember, yesterday we were talking about quad soreness. Well, now it looks like that we have an update around his knee, and it looks like that Patrick Williams is going to miss some time. We're also going to be talking about what this means for just the Chicago Bulls moving forward. We're going to be talking about the front office, aka that decision to go ahead and sign Patrick Williams, and just really what this team is going to need to do in order to now get some added size and help on the front line for the Chicago Bulls. And so before we go ahead and jump into it, wanted to let you know that 67.2% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure that you go ahead and you slam dunk on that subscribe button for us, as it means a lot to us as we try to reach our end of the season subscriber goal. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the content for today, talking about Patrick Williams and the most recent injury update. And so it looks like that he has tendinosis, and he is now getting, I guess, a PRP treatment. And what that is that uses a person's own blood. You inject that into the area, and that's supposed to help heal the injury, also to help the inflammation. It's common for tendon injuries. It's common for chronic pain and arthritis. That is another thing that is listed on there. And so you are seeing that he is set to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. And what that means is that the Chicago Bulls start the first game of 27. So he's at least going to miss 8 games, and then he's going to have to get reevaluated again, which means that he could come back. Maybe he's going to have to miss some more time. I mean, that's something that we'll find out once we get to that 2-week period. And remember, he's still got to wrap up. And so I think that, that could be interesting to see what happens when that 2 weeks ends. And so with that being said, what does this mean? And so look, you're dealing with a knee injury that is common to jumper's knee or tendonitis. And so that's interesting. We talked about how he had bumped knees, and that caused him to miss the rest of the Detroit game. And then it seemed like he was fine, had the quad soreness. And then the next day we find out that he's got to get this injection. And so I would say it's not good to start off again for the Chicago Bulls, because I've said this before, and I say it again. I think it's been a rocky start for a 5-year, $90 million contract. I know $18 million a year is really not that much when you look at it from the grand scheme of things and contracts in the NBA, especially once, the salary cap eventually does go up. I think that you can look at that and say, okay, well, it was a bargain deal. But on the bottom line is that you also need to see some production, because look, over his last 8 games, he's had 4 games in which he had single digits. In those games, he had an 8-8, 5-3. That was against Minnesota, Golden State, Detroit twice. We lost all of those games. And then he's had some double figure games off of the bench where he's had 11, 16, 11, and 10. And we've won 3 of those games. And so that was against Denver, Boston, Detroit, and Miami. And so look, that has really been I guess the thing with Patrick Williams. It's been a very much up and down situation. And I just think that when you look at that 5 years for $90 million, I think that the Chicago Bulls really just did themselves a disservice. And this probably goes into really what we're talking about with the forward thinking with the front office. I think that they should have let the market dictate what to give Patrick Williams. And then when you let the market dictate that, I think you could have done yourself, maybe a better solid by not giving him a player option, all right, at the end of that deal, because Patrick Williams does have a player option. And I just think that maybe, we're looking at this and saying, okay, maybe the Bulls could have been in a better situation if they could have maybe given him the same type of deal as like Isaac Okoro. Because when you look at Patrick Williams, you look at the numbers that you're seeing this year, it's very similar to what he's done for his career. And I just think that when you see the numbers by year 3, I think that you probably have a good kind of a gauge as to what type of player he's going to be. Now, I do understand, there were situations with DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, there's always the, hey, he's playing out of position type of thing. And I will say that this was the year for the Bulls to go out and see what he could really do, because there's no DeMar DeRozan, there's no Alex Caruso, and none of those players are in the way. And really that just leads to more of just what I think a lot of people are saying. There's really no excuses at this point in time. And I think that even if that was the Bulls' plan, they wanted to go younger, they wanted to give Patrick Williams a lot more runway, I think that they could have really given themselves an out without giving the player option. And also, too, I think that they could have given themselves far lesser years on the deal, because when you look at a $33 million contract, not saying that he would have got that exact number, but if we're comparing it to, like, again, Isaac Okoro, that's $10 million for this year, $11 million, and then he's a free agent. So I think that if there were teams that were serious about trading for Patrick Williams, if the Bulls were serious about trading Patrick Williams away, I think that, look, even in down production, if it's just 3 years at that cost, maybe that would have been enough for a team to maybe take a chance. And maybe they could have said, look, if we can't get this experiment to work in a year or two, then maybe we can move on and not give up a whole bunch of draft capital for him. I mean, who knows what that situation looks like. But again, I just think that the Bulls, this is where we're talking about forward thinking. And I get it, too, because the Bulls put a lot of, I think, I think insurance into Patrick Williams, because one of the things that we talked about with him going into this season is that he was one of the better defenders. And I mean, he still is a good defender, but if you're not going to have him available on the court, you're not going to get you're getting the inconsistencies, you're not getting the consistent play. You might as well have just maybe gone on and gotten a player via free agency, or, just maybe put all your chips into getting some draft capital or something else for him to see if you can get a player that is going to be more consistent. And so, that leads to really what the issue is with this team. They don't have a lot of size. They don't have a lot of players in the front court. Patrick Williams is one of those players. And I just think that if you see now, it's definitely not going to work out. You're definitely not going to get some consistency. That is where you're going to have to make a pivot in this NBA draft. And so starting with the NBA draft and just starting with, some prospects that maybe the Chicago Bulls can take a look at. We're looking at an old mock draft that I'd put up here from Bleacher Nation. But, one of the prospects that maybe the Chicago Bulls could take a chance on here is going to be Derik Queen. And so I like Derik Queen a lot. He reminds me of a former Chicago Bull that we had that was actually co-rookie of the year with Steve Francis, I believe. And that's Elton Brand. Like, I think that he has that same type of feel to the game. The footwork is there. He's more of a player that knows how to attack angles as well. So he does have a little bit of an Alperen Şengün kind of like feel to him as well, which is the player for the Rockets. And so he's averaging 16 points a game, 8.8 rebounds a game, 2.1 assists a game, and he's 6'10 as well. And again, he just has a great feel. You can see that he's going to be a terrific player in dribble handoff situations, so he's comfortable handling the basketball. And I think he's an excellent screener as well. And I was just very impressed with his finishes around the basket and just his understanding of where to be. And so I think that this would be a terrific draft pick for the Chicago Bulls if they were to get him. Next up, another player that I definitely think the Chicago Bulls should definitely get if he falls to them. And this is, going back to that mock draft that we just looked at there. And that's going to be Khman Maluah. I think that he's a terrific player out of Duke at 7'2". Look, he's going to give you the shot blocking presence that you so desperately need. He's a perfect lob threat. Anything you throw to him, he catches. He's shown the ability to catch in traffic. And so that is a great sign, especially when you're working with, Josh Giddey. If you bring him back, which you probably are, you have a guard that is going to be able to get it to him. He'll be able to catch that. Buzelis, I think, is a great passer. Ayo, terrific. Kobe White has shown that he can assist the basketball at a high clip as well. We'll see what happens over the summer. But either way, he's got a terrific catch radius there. He can finish off of that. And you love the fact that he's a terrific free throw shooter as well. So if you foul him, he will make the free throws. Right now he's shooting 73%. And he's also, just as I said, efficient on the field. So he's 71% from the field, 8 points a game, 6.2 rebounds a game. You'd have to think that as you build out the team with more shooting around him as far as knocking down three-point shots and just the ability to get him the basketball on the run, that's another thing too. He's good as far as being mobile. Then you definitely open up the floor for him. I could see those numbers really increasing with the Chicago Bulls. And so next up, another player that I would love the Chicago Bulls to get, and he's probably going to be going way sooner before the Chicago Bulls get a chance, but you never know. I mean, something could happen. He could drop, and who knows, maybe the Bulls somehow find a way to trade up, but it would be for Ace Bailey. I think that Ace Bailey is a player I would love to see the Chicago Bulls get. I've talked about this before. I would love to pair him with Modest Buzelis. Look, he's 6'10". I absolutely love the shot creation that you get from him. 20 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, shooting 46.6% from the field, 36.2 from three as well. Look, I love him and the idea of getting him here with, again, Modest, with, that great point guard play that we can get from Josh Giddey in the open court. Like, I can definitely see the Bulls opening that up. And again, we get some rim protection, we get some added length, and hopefully some good defense as well between our young core. And so anyway, let me know in the comments, what you're thinking here with this most recent information around Patrick Williams and, just now dealing with the knee injury. Look, he's 23 years old. He's the first year of this 5-year deal. He's already dealt with, I guess a little bit of reoccurrence with the foot discomfort. So he missed some time there. He's set to miss some games now. And so let me know in the comments what you're thinking with Patrick Williams, the direction that the Bulls are going to go there. And then also, too, with these draft picks, what do you think about some of these draft picks? Do you like some of these players? Are there other players that you would like to see the Bulls go out there and draft? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. And so, look, as I always say, the Bulls need to get a plan. They need to figure out, again, how they're going to pivot off this situation, because if Patrick Williams is not going to be your starting, power forward, small forward, whatever, and you're going to go ahead and solely use him off the bench, and the inconsistency that really comes with him, I think that you have to start to get yourself an insurance plan. You need to get, some more frontline help. You need to get some forwards out there that can score it and also defend. And then you have a player that, maybe you can count on coming off the bench to give you something. You got to think about it in those ways. You got to think long term. And so let me know in the comments what you're thinking. And as I always say, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the post game after they play the New York Knicks. All right, peace.